Hello, this is 13 Heathen speaking. And oh, for crying out loud.
So yeah.
Yes?
You.
Heathen, what's up?
I was about to record a video. What's going on?
Oh, you're gonna do a video about what?
I've had a video on deck about religion
I.
and mental illness for like a month now almost.
Oh, that's a kick in a bee's nest right there. Which side are you taking? I hope that you're saying religion isn't a mental illness.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not
Are
saying
you
it
saying
is either.
Good.
Well, how about we turn my video into a discussion then, seeing as I'm hellfire determined to record this stupid thing anyway.
No, you should go record it. I'm sure it's going to be awesome.
Okay. Well, it seems like there's a lot of people that don't want to weigh in on the issue. Okay. Well, regardless, one question that's been rumbling around the tubes is the notion of religion's interconnectivity with mental illness. I've recently found myself stating that religion can be mental illness. I was immediately and rightly corrected by one of the very people that was in that call, actually. Mental illness, more appropriately referred to as mental disorder, is such a tricky word, and it's come to mean so many things to so many people. And that notion of what should and shouldn't be considered to fall under the definition is often a matter of frequent debate. Within modern psychiatry, the label mental disorder can range from serious schizoaffective disorders to completely natural states of anxiety. However, from a more societal viewpoint, the term refers to those that have something fundamentally wrong with them. From the viewpoint that a mental disorder is an inability to accept reality, I can somehow understand why there are some non-theists who have asserted that religion is, in and of itself, a mental disorder. I can even agree with the assertion within that limited framework. However, I feel those definitional parameters are too broad and vague to have any true merit. It would be more accurate to refer to religion as one of many mechanisms used to help a person deal with the world around them. While Sigmund Freud dismissed the value of spirituality, Carl Jung embraced it. As a coping mechanism, as such, religion can utilize either positive or negatively as a coping mechanism. But this really does have to be judged on a case-by-case basis. I fully acknowledge that many of the beliefs which are central to the various religions would be treated as symptomatic of a mental disorder if they were judged separately from that system of belief from which they are derived. In cases where a person is building their own theology independent of religious traditions, they are frequently assigned psychiatric labels indicative of an assortment of delusional states. To further illustrate this, if an individual stated that they believed that there were invisible creatures attempting to tempt them to do horrible things, but there were also beautiful beings that watched over them and protect them from these monsters, the person would be considered to have a serious mental disorder. However, if instead they're talking about angels and demons, the notions become far more acceptable due to their origin within religious cultures. Beliefs such as the aforementioned may indeed be indication of a mental disorder. However, can't be treated as such on face value due to their faith-based origins. Such faith-based views could seemingly be allegorical or an anthropomorphized representation of their daily struggle. If, however, a person were insisting that there were evil gnomes that were after them, but that's the good fairies were protecting them, this would be immediately taken as being such a delusional state, which does beg the question. Could those that founded religions with such views be regarded as delusional or deluded? The instinctive response from many religious people would be to take a defensive view towards this statement. However, when applied to beliefs which are not their own, like Scientology and the whole alien soul called Thetan, which adherents must rid themselves of, my meaning suddenly becomes more clear and less objectionable. While many would claim that Scientologists are crazy for believing such things, it's merely part of their religious framework. Thus, it is the potential mental state of the group's founder, L. Ron Hubbard, that should bear the brunt of such scrutiny. To quote C.S. Lewis, speaking of Jesus, you must make your choice. Either this Man was and is the son of God, or else a madman, or something worse. The distance between faith-based statements and mental disorder can be explained with the following analogy. A person was complaining about the NSA monitoring our phone conversations. Could be reasonable as long as they aren't insisting that the agency is specifically picking them out to try to get to them in particular. This can be further illustrated using the angel and demon example I referred to earlier. If a religious person believes that the devil is trying to lead them astray, they're making a religious claim. If, on the other hand, they're claiming that the devil is out to get them because he's attempting to foil the plans God has specifically chosen for them, I'd like to think that we can tell the distinction there. The problem which comes into play, which blurs the lines most, is when a faith-based community supports paranoid delusions which take on religious manifestations. These are the instances I refer to when I say religion can be a mental disorder, when I should instead acknowledge that the religion itself is not the cause of the disorder, merely a conduit through which such aberrant thought processes can be sheltered or even promoted. Thus, while I find myself agreeing that it's unfair to claim religion is, in and of itself, a mental illness, I would assert that religions can be born of mental illness, and in some cases extreme religiosity can lead to symptomology which mirrors varied forms of mental disorder. Whether it could be fairly stated that whether it could be fairly stated in such cases, the religion is instilling a form of mental disorder or merely providing them with negative coping skills, I'm simply not qualified to judge, and quite honestly, chances are you aren't either. So I really think this whole conversation as to whether religion is a mental illness or not really needs to quantify it on an individual, personal basis, case to case more than anything else. And we need to stop wagging fingers at each other, accusing this group or that group of having some kind of mental illness merely because we don't agree with them. And on that note, this is 13 Heathens signing out, and I have a call to get back to. Have a great day.